12th economics. What are we going to discuss today? We are in the chapter 5, which is government budget and the economy. Okay, so far we have discussed various things about the government budget. We have discussed what is a budget, what is the need for the government to intervene into the economy to stabilize it. Okay, whenever there is a fluctuation, the government intervenes to adjust the fluctuation and bring about a stabilized economy. Okay, that is the reason that government intervenes through this government budget. It is actually a financial statement, right? Telling about the fiscal policy of our country. So we have discussed about what is the government budget and its components. Okay, and what are the objectives of the government budget? We have the allocation function, the redistribution function, and the stabilization function. Under the components of government budget, we have spoken various things about the revenue budget and the capital budget. So revenue budget relates to the accounts that talks about the current financial year. Talking about a capital budget, it relates to the accounts that talk about the incomes and expenditures that has an impact over the subsequent years. Right? So what are we doing under this particular topic? We discussed about the government budget's components, like we have spoken receipts separately and the expenditures separately. When we discussed the classification of receipts, we spoke about the revenue receipts and capital receipts. Under the topic revenue receipts, we discussed about the tax revenues and non-tax revenues. Capital receipts is accumulated through borrowing, okay, through loans and sale of an asset. That comes under capital receipts. When we discussed about classification of expenditures, it was a detailed topic where we spoke about what is meant by a revenue expenditure and a capital expenditure. Under the topic revenue expenditure, we spoke about the planned revenue expenditure and non-planned revenue expenditure. When we talked about planned revenue expenditure, it deals with the 5-year plan, whichever is mentioned in the 5-year plan, and that comes under the planned revenue expenditure. And the non-planned revenue expenditures are those that are not mentioned in the 5-year plans, like when you pay for the defense system and all those things come under the non-planned revenue expenditure. Capital expenditures are again given as planned capital expenditure and non-planned capital expenditure. Planned capital expenditure deals with the 5-year plans and expenditures related to that. Non-planned government expenditure, capital expenditure, was about the purchase of an asset and lending. Okay, those were non-planned capital expenditure. After we spoke about receipts and expenditure, it is right to talk about a balanced deficit and a surplus budget. Now, what is a balanced budget? When we have the expenditures equal to the receipts, it's a balanced budget. When we have receipts more than the expenditures, then it's called a surplus budget. When we have the receipts lesser than the expenditures that we need, then it's called a deficit budget. And the government tries its best, okay, to go for a balanced budget. But what happens? Either it turns out to be a surplus budget or it turns out to be a deficit budget. So how do you make a deficit budget? How do you usually adjust a deficit budget? By incurring taxes. Okay, by incurring taxes we try to adjust it, but at times when the tax collected is more than what we have expected, then what happens is there we face a surplus budget. Alright children, under the topic of government deficit, we spoke about 3 different deficits: fiscal deficit, revenue deficit, and primary deficit. Then revenue deficit is equal to the revenue deficit. Okay, 3 deficits we discussed. So revenue deficit budget. The expenditures are termed to be more than the revenues that a government receives. That's why it goes into a deficit budget. And then we have a primary deficit where you find the gross fiscal deficit. Using that, you go for the primary deficit minus net interest liabilities. So the primary deficit is equal to the gross fiscal deficit minus net interest. Whatever interest the government is paying that comes under the topic net interest liabilities. Right, children? So what do we have here? We have discussed about revenue deficit, fiscal deficit, primary deficit. Later on we moved on to discuss the fiscal policy. What is it? And what did we do with the fiscal policy? Earlier we have discussed about the two-sector model in the previous chapter. How do we determine income and employment, equilibrium income and employment based on the households and firms. In this chapter, what we are going to do? We are going to have the government also to play a role in this. How is it going to change the aggregate demand? How is it going to change the aggregate supply? Okay? How it is going to adjust with the output was also what we have discussed in this particular chapter. We have had the government expenditure. So aggregate demand, how to change? Then how to change the equilibrium income and employment. And we have discussed in detail about the change in government expenditure. We went into the multiplier, right? Just how we had the investment multiplier. Same way, we had a government spending multiplier. And how to change the equilibrium income we discussed in the previous video session. Now what are we going to talk about? What is the one more important thing that talks here? The involvement of tax. So how is it going to affect the disposable income is also what we are going to discuss now. So what is one important statement or one important equation that we got already? In y is equal to AD, we got, okay, y is equal to, what did we have? C bar, okay, plus C of y minus C of TR, okay, y minus T. What is this T, children? Taxes. Okay, what is this T? Taxes. Plus TR bar, transfer of payments. What is this? Transfer of payments. Plus investment expenditure plus government expenditure, and this was our 5.3 equation number 5.3. What did we do next? We had a different equation mentioning the change. So it was given as 1 by 1 minus C bar, right? Minus this was taken inside. Small c of t plus small c of t r bar plus I plus g. Right, children? This was 5.4. Then we replaced g with delta t that marked the change in the government expenditure. Right? And then we got a new equilibrium income which was marked by delta y. What are we going to discuss now? We're going to talk about, okay, we'll use that side, so equations entirely will use it. We're going to talk about change in taxes. How are change in taxes going to affect the person's disposable income, and how it in turn going to disturb the aggregate demand, and how in turn it is going to disturb the equilibrium output and employment. Already we know one thing, that is AD is equal to y, this we know. And what is meant by AD, aggregate demand, we have, what is that we have? The same one, right? So we're gonna have this was what we had, I plus D, and this C of Y was mentioned as C of Y minus T, the taxes that is going to be deducted here. So when you talk about this, when the taxes are having a change, it is going to affect what? The aggregate demand. What is that we are going to read? The government expenditure here is remaining constant. Already in change in government expenditure, we discussed that the taxes remain constant and the government expenditure changes. In this case, we are going to have the government expenditure to be constant, and we are going to have a change in the tax rates. The tax that we are going to collect is going to have a change. Okay. So when we have a change in the tax, it is going to affect what? The aggregate demand. And when the aggregate demand is disturbed, you need to go for an increased or decreased output. So when you have an increased or decreased output, it is going to change, or it's going to give you a new equilibrium level of income and output. Right, children? So how this change in taxes is going to affect, okay, is going to affect our particular model is what we are going to discuss here. What is it? That a cut in taxes increases disposable income. Can be vice versa also, children. So decreased taxes means increased income. Increased disposable income. Right, children? Why are we saying like this? Why are we saying like this? Because YD, that is the disposable income, is going to be income minus taxes. This we have already discussed. Income minus taxes is going to be your disposable income. So when the taxes are decreased, you are going to get more disposable income. For example, earlier it was when you are getting, already we saw in an example, right? 1 lakh minus 10,000, we got a disposable income of 90,000. Say for an example, we are going to have a decreased tax. So instead of 10,000, we are going to have only 5,000. So how does it change there? 1 lakh minus 5,000 is going to give you 95,000. Vice versa. Increased taxes are going to give you a decreased disposable income. Okay? What happens when the taxes are more? Imagine instead of 5,000, you are going to have a tax of 15,000. Then will it be 95,000? It becomes 85,000. So when the taxes are more, the disposable income becomes less, because Y minus T is what we talk about, the disposable income. Right, children? So what is it? Decreased taxes, increased disposable income. Opposite. And the increased taxes will lead to decreased disposable income. We are not talking about income, children. We are talking about disposable income. So we will take this case first. What we are going to take? We are going to take decreased taxes increases disposable income. What happens now? When the disposable income is increased, the consumption will become more. Yes or no? When the income is more, the consumption becomes more. When the consumption is more, you need to produce to equalize the demand. The demand becomes more, right? So you need to produce more. So it increases. Whereas when the disposable income decreases, the consumption decreases. And demand decreases, the supply also should decrease. This is what we see. So this shifts the aggregate expenditure schedule upwards by a fraction C of the decrease in taxes. So we are taking only this. What happens here? The consumption increases. This is what we discuss here. So this is shown in figure 5.2, which we will be discussing later. Okay? Equation 5.3. What did we deal with equation 5.3? The tax multiplier using the same method as for the government expenditure multiplier. We had a formula and we had a format for it. Same way we are going to have a tax multiplier. With what? With 5.3. When you bring it to one side, you are going to have a tax multiplier. And how does it work? Why do we say delta y? Because there is going to be a change in the income or there is going to be a change in the output that we are going to get. That is why we mark it as delta y. And in turn, the change in taxes are going to be marked as delta t. Right? So is equal to 1 by 1 minus c and minus of c. What is this minus of c, children? Decrease in the taxes. What is this minus of c? Decrease in the taxes. Okay, it's going to be in the negative value. And then we're going to have a change in the taxes. That is, minus c value will be change in the taxes or decrease in the tax. This is given by the equation 5.7. So when you bring it to the same side, how does it change? Delta y by delta t is equal to minus c by 1 minus c. This is equation 5.8. Right, children? What is it? Minus c by 1 minus c is given as 5.8. Equation of 5.8. Noted, children. There is a decrease in taxes. That is why there is a value called minus c. Okay? A tax cut will cause an increased consumption and output. Same way, children. It works vice versa. They are given in brackets. I have given it as a separate point. That is, when there is an increase in the tax. Should I go with the second point? Increase in the tax? Fine. When there is an increase in a tax, that will decrease the disposable income and it will decrease the consumption. Okay? But when we have a decrease in the tax, it will increase the income and then you will have an increased consumption and output. Okay? The tax multiplier is a negative multiplier when you have a decreased tax and increased disposable income. The tax multiplier is a positive multiplier when you have increased taxes and decreased values for the other things. Okay? So we find that the tax multiplier is smaller in absolute value compared to the government multiplier. What was the government multiplier? Should you remember? Delta y by delta g. Delta y by delta g is equal to 1 by 1 minus c. This was it. Right? This was the government expenditure multiplier, whereas this is the tax multiplier. If you see, this is in a minus value, so it is a smaller value compared to the government expenditure value. So here, why are we saying it like that? This is because an increase in government spending directly affects total spending, whereas taxes enter the multiplier process through their impact on disposable income. So, taxes are calculated on the income. So, what happens? It enters into a multiplier process. Government expenditure is given directly. So, you directly apply it. Whereas here, it is given as multiplied into delta t. There it was directly delta g. Remember, the change in the government expenditure was mentioned as delta g. But the change in taxes is multiplied, is given as minus c into delta t. It's not a direct value. You're just going to enter a tax multiplier and through tax multiplier you're going to have a tax calculation. Right, children? Because it does not have a direct influence on the disposable income. That is why we are calculating it like that. So, whereas taxes enter the multiplier process through their impact on disposable income which influences household consumption. So, with a delta t reduction in taxes, consumption and hence total spending increases in the first instance by c into delta t. So, this is the first case. Okay. To understand, so we have an example here. Let us move on to the example. So, what is the change in taxes and how is it going to affect us? So, a decrease delta y by delta g. This is the government expenditure multiplier for us. So we're going to have 1 by 1 minus c. So 1 by 1 minus 0.8, 1 by 0.2 has a value of 5. Right. And what are we going to do? We are going to find the equilibrium income increased by multiplying this 100. Okay. We are going to have the government spending by 100. So when you have 5 into 100 becomes 500. Alright, the equilibrium income will increase by 500. That is how it is obtained, children. 1 by 1 minus c delta g is given by this. So 1 by 1 minus c, what did we get? 5. And the change in the government spending is given by 100. And that is 500. Understood, children? First we found what is the 1 by 1 minus c, the change, the multiplier, the government spending multiplier, and then we had the multiplication of what? The change in the government spending. When we multiplied, we got the equilibrium income to be 500. So the tax multiplier is given by what? Minus c. What is tax multiplier? Delta y by delta t is equal to minus c by 1 minus c. Minus c is minus 0.8 by 0.2. So what are we going to get here? Minus 4. What all value have you got? Minus 4. A tax cut of 100 is what we are going to take. So delta t becomes minus 100. Tax cut. That means a minus value. Right? So what we have is delta t minus 100. Why do we say minus? Because it's a tax cut. That's why we are going to call it as a minus. So what happens here when you multiply it in the same way? Minus c by 1 minus c delta t is equal to minus 4 into minus 100 gives you 400. So what is the equilibrium income here, children? 400. A tax cut of 100 will increase equilibrium income by 400. Thus, the equilibrium income increase in this case by less than the amount by which it is increased by the government multiplier. So with the government expenditure it became 500, whereas with the tax it has become only 400. Okay, children, we have a small figure to study about where we discuss about the change in taxes. After that we will be continuing to discuss about how these change in taxes are going to affect us. This is a simple finding of equilibrium. Okay, how this change in taxes are going to affect us is what we are going to find. So this is going to be your y, and this is going to be your AB. And what do you first have to do? Your 45 degrees of line. Okay, and what else? You are going to have a first limit. Okay, where you have what happens here? It is c plus I plus g plus c minus t. C plus I plus g plus ct, right? What is it, children? The consumption expenditure, the aggregate demand, first line is this. When the taxes, okay, when we are having increased consumption, increased income due to the reduction in taxes, you will have a higher point. your Y, the disposable income, and here you have E1 and the Y. Right? This is going to tell you how it has changed. The equilibrium income and the equilibrium output, how it has changed. So due to the reduction in taxes, this function has happened. Right, children? And then we have discussed about the problem also. What are we going to discuss next? We are going to discuss further about taxes. How is it going to affect this? So if we take different values of the marginal propensity to consume and calculate the value of the two multipliers, we find that the tax multiplier is always one less than absolute value. So between 500 and 400, if you see, there was a difference of 100 between the government multiplier and the tax multiplier. When whatever values you are going to take, if you are going to change the C value and you are going to find different values, you will always find that it is one value less. The tax multiplier's value is one value less. So 5 minus 4. Right? It has one absolute value down. So we are going to find the balanced budget multiplier. What are we going to find, children? Balanced budget multiplier. Because our main aim is to go for what? A balanced budget. Government expenditure is going to increase, whereas taxes are going to make a different change. So how are these going to changes is what we are going to discuss now. So what happens here? An interesting implication. If an increase in government spending is matched by an equal increase in taxes, that is expenses are more. So the government needs to get an income to match the expenses through increase in taxes. So the budget has to remain balanced. How are we going to do that? Through this particular formula where it's called as the balanced budget multiplier. So delta Y by delta G is equal to, we are going to have that one first, 1 minus, okay, 1 minus 1 by 1 minus 1C plus what? Taxes should be equalized, right? Minus C by 1 minus C. So if you recall your old maths techniques, when the denominator is same, you can add or deduct, add or subtract the numerator, right? So the denominators are same. We are keeping the denominator as it is. 1 plus minus C will become 1 minus C. When you cancel 1 minus C and 1 minus C, it becomes 1. Right? So you have got a balanced budget multiplier of what is equal to 1. What did you do? To manage with your government expenditure, you had a change in the taxes. You had a change in the taxes, and that is how you got a balanced budget. So when the expenditures are more, you need to collect more tax to make it a balanced budget. Okay? So, what does it mean? When you have 100 rupees as the increase in the government expenditure, then 100 rupees should increase in the taxes also. Then only there will be a balanced budget. So the balanced budget multiplier is given like this, and the way you get it is equation number 5.9. What does it give? It gives the answer 1. So the equilibrium income refers to the final income that one arrives at in a period sufficiently long for all the rounds of the multipliers to work themselves out. So we see that in an investment multiplier, government spending multiplier, tax multiplier, there are various rounds. In round 1 only we have autonomous increment, right? Later on we wait till that it stays to be fixed. It reaches till infinity and then we find it. So we need to give enough time for it to complete all the rounds. Okay? The output increases exactly same by the amount of increased G with no induced consumption spending due to increase in taxes. So induced consumption means what, children? When it has a relationship with the income that you get. If the income is increased, the consumption increases, and it is called an induced consumption. What is called autonomous consumption? It is independent of the income. Okay, there is no relationship between between that and this. So when do we attain this? The output is said to increase. How? Exactly the same amount of the increased government expenditure, okay, with no change in the induced consumption, because there is a change in the taxes also. What we have seen? We have seen that when the expenditures of the government increases, we have seen this, right? A is equal to y, same way g bar plus c of y plus I plus g, and this c plus y is termed as y minus t plus I plus g, right? So what are we going to take into account here? We are not going to talk about the taxes, how taxes are going to change the induced consumption, okay? The increase in taxes should not change the induced consumption is what we are trying to say. So when the government expenditure increases, the demand increases. When the demand increases, of course, the output also increases. Okay, this is how you find the equilibrium income, okay, equilibrium income, equilibrium output, everything. So what is it? The increase in government spending by a certain amount raises income by the amount directly and indirectly through the multiplier chain, increasing income by. So delta y has a new equation, and how are you going to mention it? By a new equation, which is going to be 5.10. So increased income, delta y is equal to delta g. How it is going to change? Change in government expenditure. Delta g, we have seen the multiplier, right? Okay, so the increased income, the increased output, when output increases, automatically the income also increases, right? So income increased chain is to this, the 1 plus c square plus c3 till it goes to infinity, 5.10. The tax increase only enters a multiplier process when the content disposable income reduces consumption. It cannot be given directly, so it has to enter a multiplier process. And we have given a reduction in taxes. Always we have talked about the reduction of taxes. Only then there will be an increase in the income. So how are we giving it? Delta y is equal to reduction in taxes is mentioned as minus delta t, right? Minus delta t into c plus c square plus. Here we don't have the 1 back. 5.111 is another equation. So the difference between two gives a net effect on income. So when you handle it, okay, this is delta y and another delta y. When you minus it, when you just equalize it, you will get a new change. This is income increases by the amount by which government spending increases and the balanced budget multiplies unity. That is, it stays to 1. So if you see the differences, 1 is the different value, and that is what it is, the balanced budget multiplier. So delta y is given by delta g, okay, delta g bar plus c of delta y minus delta t. Okay, income minus change in income minus change in taxes. And how are you going to handle it? Delta y by delta g is equal to, this is already we have discussed. What is this? This is the balance budget multiplier where you get the value of 1. So when you equalize this and this, remaining all gets cancelled, and what remains here, children? 1. Okay, so this is about change in taxes. How change in taxes are going to affect your aggregate demand, your equilibrium income and output, everything. Okay, so for what are the various things we have discussed, so many things about the government budget, and into the fiscal policy we have entered. We have spoken already about the changes in government spending, and in this session we dedicated it to discuss about the change in taxes. After that, in the next session we are going to talk about the case of proportional taxes. A particular proportion of tax, how is it going date.